that I wouldn't. I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't.
Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. The Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. We're talking wind, allergies, and heat, and all that stuff on the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour. PrimaPediatrics.net for more info. And let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about. So we talked about there's the heat stroke stuff, heat illness. What are some of the other heat illnesses that people can get, that kids can get?
Well, some kids are on medication just like adults are that cause them to be unable to sweat.
Okay.
So if your kid is on any medication, you got to find out whether it's going to affect their ability to regulate their body temperature, and that's important.
Is there common medicines that cause that? Is there anything?
Anticonvulsants. If your kid has a seizure disorder or epilepsy or anything like that, those are classic ones. But some kids, believe it or not, are on blood pressure medications and stuff like that.
Okay, so that type of stuff you need to keep an eye out
and that's
for.
much more common now than it used to be amongst adolescents, because a lot of our adolescents are overweight, and they are actually on blood pressure medications and diabetic meds, and same meds that grown-ups get now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Much higher incidence.
Good grief.
Because they're all so overweight.
Yeah.
So that's part. I mean, I would love to see them sweat a little bit, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah, that's a different issue. Yeah. Okay. So what are some of the illnesses though that they can? Heat illnesses. What are those?
The heat illnesses are primarily related to not being able to regulate body temperature, and also if it's really hot still at night, there are still plenty of families, unfortunately, who can't afford to live in housing that's air conditioned. So these kids can't sleep at night because it's so dang hot.
Okay. And that's an issue. We've talked about that on the show. It's how important sleep is and how big of a problem that is with schools and
right. And so they're going to act out in school and not be able to get things done. Those are the main heat-related illnesses. And of course, when it gets very hot, then you do have a decreased ability to fight off infection, the same way when it gets really cold. Okay. But the other part of it is with the winds especially, and the heat, because the heat also causes a change in barometric pressure. Mm-hmm. When we get the heat here, and what happens is you get a rise in air pollution. With heat alone, you'll get a rise in air pollution because the air becomes stagnant. And you increase air pollution, and you massively increase allergies and asthma attacks.
Okay.
That's number one. And then number two is with the wind. Even if you don't have the heat, you're going to get air pollution because it's picking up all the dust
stuff.
and everything from the ground and swirling it around. And the grasses are going wild. If they just cut the lawn, here it comes right into your nose.
Yeah.
And so there's a massive increase in allergies and asthma. And especially when it happens with this particular combination this year, which is when the heat and the winds are coming during the height of allergy season.
Yeah.
Usually we get this like in August and September. But this year we're getting it right in the spring.
Okay, so what are the symptoms for that? Is it going to be coughing?
A lot of kids will be coughing.
Okay.
And parents who don't know their kids have asthma assume they've got a cough. So they figure, they're coughing, they got a little cold. Or they're coughing, they got something caught in their throat. But the kids cough and cough and cough and cough. And, they don't realize that they're coughing more when they're running because actually these kids self-regulate. They won't run because it makes them cough.
Yeah.
And finally, they end up taking them into the doctor 3-4 weeks down the line to find out, oops, your child is getting exercise/heat/wind-induced spasm of your bronchioles. So you need to relieve that.
Yeah.
So we can give medication to do that. But part of it, one of the main things about this is you need to humidify the air in the home. A lot of people have air conditioning. A lot of people don't have air conditioning, but not as many people have humidification.
Okay.
And under normal circumstances in our desert community, you get accustomed to it. But under this set of circumstances, it is an essential because kids are getting nosebleeds like crazy.
Okay,
because their nasal mucosa are so dry that the minute you even look at it, it bleeds. I mean, all you need to do is have a gust of wind with a little particle of dirt hit the inside of the nose, and bang. There's a nosebleed.
Yeah.
So that's not fun. So you have to be careful with that. So the things you should do is, if you can't afford a humidifier for at least the rooms that you guys are sleeping in, and maybe the family room, then a pan of water, put it out on the dresser every night. It'll evaporate.
Oh, wow! I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not as good as other things.
Yeah.
If you can't afford air conditioning and you don't have it, if you can afford a fan, ice, you put the ice into one of those $2 little polyurethane freezer buckets and water, and you put the fan right in front of it so the fan blows right over the water, and what you've created is an air conditioner.
Nice.
So that's one way to do it. Other thing, if your kid's having trouble sleeping at night because it's so dang hot and everything else, you put your fan like that, and then you have another thing of ice water, and you keep as many Turkish towels as you can in there, like the hand towels. And you take them out, and I don't care if the bed sheets get wet during this time, because they're going to be dry by morning, I can assure you of that. Put it around the neck.
Oh, okay.
Around the neck, ice water.
Okay.
The towel dumped in ice water, put it around the neck, and let the kids sleep in like shorty pajamas or even just in underpants, and have the fan blowing on them. That's also a natural air conditioner. It'll keep your kid cool enough to sleep.
Nice.
So there are things, and if they wake up during the night because everything's dried up, and you keep the little bucket there and teach them to stick it back down and just put it back in. So there are things you can do short of technology that if you don't have the cash to do it, that still work.
Awesome.
So these are the things to do. Keep your kids cool so they can sleep at night. Keep them well hydrated.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Remind them to drink. And if it's really hot, don't forget to give them more than just water.
I was just going to ask, is water the best way to go, or should we switch over to other things?
Water is the best way to go, but if they're going to be out and exercising or anything like that, then you got to make sure they get some kind of sports drink.
Okay.
Or Gatorade or Pedialyte if they'll take it. Actually, one of the best things I do, Pedialyte makes these little Pedialyte pops. You put them in the freezer.
I have those in my freezer right now.
The popsicles. Most kids don't like the taste of Pedialyte. They won't drink Pedialyte, but they'll eat the popsicles.
Yep. Yep, and that's how my daughter is. She will not, for the life of her, I put Pedialyte in her sippy cup, and she just will not even come close to it. And then she sees a frozen thing that's exactly the same thing, and she loves it.
But also because it doesn't taste the same.
Oh, really?
No, it tastes better. Have you tried it yourself?
I haven't, actually.
Try it. They're good.
Oh, they are? Okay.
Yeah, and if you drink regular Pedialyte, it's...
Is there certain foods we should avoid? Should the kids avoid? Because when I am coughing and stuff, I try to avoid milk and dairy
For
stuff.
some people, avoiding milk and dairy helps because it tends to thicken their mucus, but it's not true for everyone.
Okay.
So you're going to have to adapt to your own kids and your own family's way of doing things.
So I know it's kind of tough to do this with kids, but trial and error with the kids.
Basically, yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Okay.
The important thing to do, at least in this kind of heat, is to go with a light meal in the evening. If you're going to have a heavy meal, do it in the midday.
Okay.
And try to go for a light meal in the evening, because if you go for heavy food in the evening, then it's just so hard to regulate your temperature at night. Then it makes it even harder to sleep.
Gotcha.
So go for a light meal and lots of drinks. And if your kid's a bedwetter, so just, it'll dry.
Get some. Make sure you have extra sheets. There you go.
That's right.
Yeah, there you have it.
Or you know what we used to do? You can get these flannel-covered rubber sheet things.
I've seen those.
Not for the whole bed, but just the ones that cover like the area where the kid is sleeping.
Yep.
And you just put that underneath them and change those instead of having to change sheets all the time.
And then you can actually put several. I've done. I know friends of mine have done several layers of those. They just pull off the top layer,
right?
Put the kid right back on.
That's exactly.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. So there are things to make life easier.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we're going to talk some more tips. We'll have one final segment to wrap things up, but we'll talk more kids and heat and wind stuff coming up next on the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220 KHTS.